New York City is, well, it's officially running out of other people's money.
It was bound to happen. The credit card is maxed out, the interest rates are climbing, and I think the bank just changed the locks.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It's Friday, January 16th, 2026. If you're listening to this in the Big Apple, you might want to sit down.
Hmm.
And if you're listening from anywhere else, you need to pay close attention. Because what's happening in our nation's largest city is a masterclass in fiscal gravity. We're looking at a stack of reports here that paint a picture of a financial train wreck in slow motion.
Train wreck might be putting it nicely. It's more like a train wreck beside a dumpster fire.
Okay, so let's get into it. The breaking news is from the NYC Comptroller, Levine. For those who don't follow municipal work charts, he's the city CFO.
Right. He's the guy who actually looks at the bank account while the politicians are out there making speeches. And today, he just sounded the alarm.
He didn't just sound it, he basically screamed into a megaphone. Levine is projecting a budget gap of $2.2 billion for the current fiscal year.
For right now, they are underwater today, but that's not even the scary part. The real horror show is fiscal year 2027.
That's where the numbers they get truly insane.
We are looking at a projected $10.4 billion hole.
$10 billion. To put that in perspective for you, that is bigger than the entire annual budget of some small countries.
And it's the largest budget shortfall New York has faced since the Great Recession of 2008. But here's the thing. Unlike 2008, this wasn't caused by some global banking collapse. This is homegrown.
It's structural.
Exactly. And it threatens the basic services, trash pickup, police, schools that, make the city livable.
But timing on this is it's almost cinematic. You have the outgoing mayor, Eric Adams, packing his office, and the mayor-elect, Zoran Mamdani, measuring the drapes.
It's like Adams is handing Mamdani the keys to a Ferrari, and Mamdani's all excited, and then he realizes the engine is on fire, and the Rico man is standing in the driveway.
That is a perfect analogy. So our mission for this deep dive is to figure out how in the world this happened. We need to look past the press conferences and get into the actual ledger.
This is a story about the end of the free money era, a hostile takeover by federal reality, and frankly, a whole lot of magical thinking.
Let's start with that free money. So the last few years post-pandemic, it really felt like New York was just awash in cash. You had the American Rescue Plan, stimulus checks. Was that all just a mirage?
It was a sugar high. And now the crash is here. We are witnessing the definitive end of the stimulus era. We call it the COVID cliff, and New York City just drove right off of it.
So break down the actual damage for us. What are we losing?
Okay, so the technical term is categorical grants. For listeners who aren't buried in spreadsheets, just think of these as earmarked dollars.
Right, money for specific things.
Money the feds give the city for things like housing vouchers or school lunches. In 2025, the city got $10.52 billion. For 2026, that number drops to $7.44 billion.
Wow, that's a $3 billion haircut in 1 year. That's not trimming the fat.
No, that's cutting into the bone. And $1.23 billion of that drop is solely because the COVID stimulus packages are expiring. Everyone knew this was temporary. It said so on the label.
See, this is the part that I just don't get. If I know my bonus check is a one-time thing, I don't go out and sign a 10-year lease on a yacht. How did the city not see this coming?
Oh, they saw it coming. They just chose to ignore it. And this exposes what the comptroller calls the dirty secret of New York City budgeting. The polite term is chronic underestimation.
Which sounds like a nice way of saying cooking the books.
It essentially is. It means the city systematically budgets too little for things they know they have to pay for every year.
Like what? What are we talking about?
Overtime for police and firefighters, special education placements, rental assistance, these aren't surprises. But the city pretends they won't happen, so the budget looks balanced on paper.
So it's a live omission.
It's a deliberate blind spot. The comptroller estimates that this structural flaw, this habit of lying to ourselves, is hiding about $4.05 billion in expenses for fiscal year 2026 alone.
$4 billion just hidden in the couch cushions. I mean, if a CEO hid $4 billion in liabilities to make the quarterly report look good, the SEC would be kicking down their door.
Absolutely. It's like ignoring your mortgage bill so you can pretend you have cash for a fancy steak dinner. You feel rich at the restaurant, but the bank hasn't forgotten about the mortgage.
And New York has been eating steak on credit for years, and now the bank is calling.
And the bank has new management. We are 1 year into the second Trump administration, and the relationship between Washington and New York has gone from, well, strained to hostile.
Hostile is putting it mildly. The federal reality, has completely shifted.
The days of the Biden administration trying to, prop up blue cities with cash, those are over.
The sources we have point to a specific piece of legislation. It's called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act.
The branding is consistent, I'll give them that. But this act, which passed in July 2025, is a sledgehammer to New York's finances. It just aggressively slashes federal spending on Medicaid and the Essential Plan.
Okay, so walk me through the dominoes here. The feds cut Medicaid. The costs don't just disappear, right?
Of course not. The cost just shifts. When the feds step back, the bill lands on New York State's desk. And when the state gets squeezed,
It rolls downhill.
it rolls downhill, right onto the city's public hospital system. We're looking at a potential $13.5 billion cost shift onto the state, which will inevitably crush the city.
And it's not just healthcare. We have to talk about trade policy. The administration's tariffs on Chinese imports, steel, aluminum. The reports call it extraordinary uncertainty.
Because a city builds things, it builds schools, bridges.
And those are made of steel and aluminum.
Exactly. So if you're budgeting for a new bridge and the price of steel can double overnight because of a tweet, your budget is blown before you even break ground. It's causing chaos.
There's also a note in here about clawbacks. That sounds aggressive.
It is. The administration isn't just cutting future funding, they are reviewing past grants. FEMA, for example, just revoked $80 million in migrant service funding directly from the city's bank accounts.
Okay, what? They just reached into the digital wallet and took it back.
Poof! Gone. That's the power of the federal purse.
Okay, you mentioned migrant service funding. We have to go there. For the last 2 years, the narrative has been that the migrant crisis is why the city is broke. Is that true?
That's the popular narrative. It's a very convenient political shield. But if you look at the hard data that Levine released, that whole story just falls apart.
Okay, so walk us through the numbers.
Here's the reality. Border crossings have plummeted. We saw a 94% decrease in southern border crossings from February through April of 2025.
94%. That's not a decrease, that's a collapse.
The border is effectively closed,
Okay.
and the flow into New York City reflects that. In January 2025, you had almost 2,000 entries. By March, less than 600. The flood became a trickle.
But let me play devil's advocate. Even if new arrivals are down, the city is still paying for the people who arrived last year, right? The house is still full.
That's true, there's a backlog, but those costs are stabilizing and dropping, and yet the deficit is exploding. The deficit for 2027 is $10 billion. That is not being caused by 600 people arriving in March.
So if the crisis is fading but the bill is getting bigger, what does that tell us?
It tells us the spending problem is structural, it's self-inflicted. The conservative argument here is just undeniable. You cannot blame an external crisis for a budget that was already broken. The city spends beyond its means on everything.
The call is coming from inside the house.
It is, which brings us to the politics of this, which might be the most volatile part. This transition could doom the city's recovery before it even starts.
You have outgoing Mayor Eric Adams and incoming Mayor Zohran Mamdani. And looking at Adams' final moves, it feels like he's setting the building on fire on his way out.
It's a poison pill. In his final budget update, Adams actually added headcount, 1,000 new positions for 2026, and a plan for 5,000 more police officers by 2029.
Hold on. The city is facing its biggest deficit since 2008, and he's hiring.
He is hiring. So politically, he gets to say he supported the police, but fiscally, he's baking in massive new cost salaries, pensions, healthcare that the next guy has to pay for.
He's ordering the lobster and sticking Mamdani with the check.
Absolutely. And let's talk about Mamdani. He's not exactly budget hawk, is he?
Not at all. His platform reads like a wish list.
Mayor-elect Mamdani ran as a democratic socialist. His promises are massive. Free bus service, universal child care, a whole new agency, the Department of Community Safety.
Very expensive ideas. Where does he think the money is coming from?
Tax the rich. That was his plan. Tax wealthy New Yorkers and universities to pay for all of it.
But, and this is the big but, the mayor of New York can't just raise taxes.
No, he cannot, and that's the fundamental roadblock. The city cannot raise income or corporate taxes without explicit permission from the state.
And Governor Kathy Hochul has been crystal clear on this.
She has pledged publicly no new taxes. She's trying to stop the exodus of wealth to Florida and Texas, so she has locked the revenue door.
So this is a perfect storm. The feds are cutting funding, the outgoing mayor is increasing payroll, the incoming mayor wants to spend billions more, and the governor refuses to raise taxes to pay for any of it.
It's a mathematical impossibility. Something has to break. The new mayor has a massive shopping list, but the credit card is maxed out, and his parents cut off his allowance.
It sounds like a setup for a default. And we haven't even talked about the debt trap.
Right, because when you run these deficits, you have to borrow money just to keep the lights on. And the cost of that borrowing, it's eating the city alive. We call it debt service.
Explain that for us.
It's the minimum monthly payment on your credit card. It's money you pay just for the interest on what you already borrowed. It buys you no new schools, no new cops. It just keeps the creditors away.
And that number is going up.
It's skyrocketing. And it's compounded by the fact that building anything in New York is insanely expensive now. Look at the Western Rail Yard project.
The platform over the train tracks.
The cost to build it doubled from $1.1 billion to $2.0 billion.
Why? Did it get twice as big?
No,
Yeah.
same platform. But inflation, supply chain chaos from those tariffs we mentioned, it all drove the price up. So the city has to borrow more just to get the same result. It's a death spiral.
It sounds ominously like the 1970s. You see the photos, trash on the sidewalks, the famous Ford to City, drop dead headline.
We are approaching the 50th anniversary of the Financial Emergency Act, and the parallels are, they're terrifying.
Remind us what happened then. New York actually lost its independence.
It did. The city went bankrupt. The state had to step in and put the city in receivership. They created an unelected board that had veto power over the mayor. They decided how money was spent, not the elected officials.
So democracy was suspended because the politicians couldn't do math.
That's it. And groups like the Citizens Budget Commission are warning that we are drifting toward that same iceberg again. They are saying without tough decisions, and they mean painful cuts, history could repeat itself.
Chilling. So zoom out. Why should someone in Ohio or Oregon care about this?
Because even if you hate New York, you have to understand it's the economic engine of this country. When New York sneezes, the municipal bond market catches a cold. If New York City were to default, it would send shockwaves through the entire U.S. economy.
The engine seizes up, the whole car slows down.
That's right. This is a case study in what happens when you prioritize ideology over arithmetic. It is a warning light for every city and state in the country.
It really feels like the party is over. The lights are on, the music stopped, and the floor is just covered in bills.
And the hangover is going to be legendary.
So I have to leave our listeners with this one provocative thought. We have a $12 billion gap looming. We have a socialist mayor who has promised to expand government, not shrink it. If Mamdani refuses to cut spending and Governor Hochul refuses to bail him out, is 2026 the year the greatest city in the world officially goes bankrupt?
It's not impossible. If they don't change course, and I mean immediately the numbers only go one way. Down.
A sobering reality check. We'll be watching this very closely. Thanks for helping us unpack it all.
My pleasure.
And thank you for listening. Keep your eyes on the numbers, everyone. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.